Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to another edition of Prime R. We are once again sorry for the late start. At times we decide on starting at exactly 7 p.m. But the news also took some time. We have planned to look at reasons why those who have been tagged as having spoiled the nation's resources have not been brought to book when the state telling Cameroonians that those who have touched the resources that were meant to take care of Cameroonians has been destroyed or misappropriated, embezzled by those charged with them, are going to render account to Cameroonians is going to be the focus for our program today. What are the mechanisms put in place by the state, and if at all they exist, why is it taking so long for the promise that was made to the nation by the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, as he addressed the nation last year and also this year? Why is it taking so long for them to be brought to book? We are talking precisely with what happened with the management of funds allocated for the construction of stadia across the nation, as the nation are prepared to host the Nations Cup. And we also are looking at the management of funds that were allocated to Cameroon to fight against COVID-19. We are going to be looking at other aspects in Cameroon in general with our panelists. Two of them are already in the house, two are caught in traffic. We hope they join us in the course of the program. Professor Mark Anthony is in the house. He is a Panafricanist. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, yo. Good evening, Cameroon. Good evening, Africa, and to my fellow panelists and those who are still on the way coming. It is a pleasure actually being here this evening. I think the topic of discussion today is a topic that actually is very, very important for us to discuss about, considering the fact that years have actually passed gone. I think we were supposed to host the Nations Cup in 2019. Something happened and we never hosted it, and it was pushed to 2022. And later on, the COVID issue burst out, and I think about 180 billion francs CFA was given to fight it, and that money disappeared. We are talking today about the McGill actually leaving Olembe and abandoning a project which they were supposed to have completed by now. That is going to be one of the worst situations, that in fact worst cases of embezzlement.
But entirely 180 billion francs CFA did not just disappear. Maybe it was not well managed. We also in the company of Alex Nguepi, former militant of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, but sitting here as a politician. Bonsoir, bienvenue.
Bonsoir, bonsoir aux millions de personnes qui nous suivent ce jour.
Okay, we are going to be expecting Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, National President of the Reform Party, to be joining us, as well as Mr. Shuneh Siaka, who is going to be sitting in as a militant of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. I was confusing between CPDM and the CDC. We are starting with you, Prof. Mark Anthony. The president last year said that those who have touched state funds were going to render accounts. He reiterated that this year, on the 31st of December 2022, has he addressed the nation end-of-year address. What is happening? Why is it taking too long for those who accordingly for embezzled state funds, misappropriated state resources? Why is it taking so long for them to be brought to book?
The Operation Sparrow has been on air for years right now, and a lot of persons actually have already been taken into custody using that particular operation. And I believe that the Operation Sparrow is still in the air and ready actually to incarcerate some individuals who have been responsible for this past embezzlement that we are talking about. If you remember very well, we're supposed to host the World Cup, the Nations Cup, beg your pardon, in 2019. And based on mismanagement of some funds and the construction of some stadiums. We finally lost that bid, and it was pushed to 2022. The question is, why is it that those responsible till now have actually not been brought to book? Accountability is what actually makes a government powerful, strong enough, and let me use the word credible. But when there is no accountability, credibility disappears. A lot has happened and nothing has been done to actually bring to book those who have been creating that. Was of it the 2020 COVID issue that broke out and the funds that came to actually deal with it was mismanaged. I think over 180 billion francs CFA was mismanaged, and I'll be saying this: the task force headed from the presidency is supposed to be at the center of this particular issue. And I remember there was a particular period of time that the special criminal court actually sends, should I call it a warrant of arrest, targeting the secretary, the secretary of the, I think Secretary of State and the presidency. I don't know exactly.
Minister of State, Secretary General,
at the presidency. I don't know exactly what happened at the end of the day. He's still there standing and nothing has been said, and he was the one heading the task force that was in control of that particular COVID-19 particular funds. And now we are looking at another situation that is actually bringing us on the floor, Mr. Leo. The McGill, the company that actually was managing the construction of Olembe, that particular Olembe complex was supposed to have a 5-star hotel. It was supposed to have an Olympic swimming pool. It was supposed to have a tennis court. It was supposed to have a basketball court. It was supposed to have a handball court. It was supposed to have, you can keep naming them. But as we are talking, just the football court is standing there. And what is happening? The rest have not. Where is the construction company? They unilaterally actually decided that they are no more interested in taking this contract, and they went further to actually declare that they were about to sue. In fact, need to go in to get paid for the work that they have done. I think 10% of the original budget of that particular court. And I would say this complex has already consumed close to 200 billion francs, if I'm mistaken. And it is not still done, which was originally meant to be less than. This is a situation which I think Cameroonians need to be aware of. The taxpayers' money actually being used, money sent, borrowed, and in fact, in the name of Cameroonians, which we are going to be paying gradually, actually has been embezzled, and we do not have anybody to be held account. Okay. And that is very terrible. So that is one of the things we are discussing.
You made mention of an official that was supposed to present themselves at the special criminal court. Yes, but you don't know for sure why he was called there. So the information is not. We are not too sure of what is happening at that level. Pourquoi est-ce que ça traîne? Le président de la République, avant l'année passée, a demandé que ceux qui ont touché la fortune publique doivent rendre compte. Et cette année encore, il a encore dit. Pourquoi est-ce que ça traîne?
Ça traîne parce que nous avons un président de la République qui ne remplit pas ses fonctions, les fonctions régaliennes dues à un chef de l'État. Il faut dire que je fais partie de ceux qui pensent que le président de la République est fatigué. Je fais de ceux qui pensent qu'à 90 ans, on ne peut plus se rendre au bureau tous les jours. On a l'âge de la sagesse, certes, mais on est humain. Et comme tout être humain, même si les gens disent que l'âge du président ne pose pas problème, mais l'âge du président pose problème. Il n'a plus l'énergie de suivre les affaires de la République. C'est normal. Je suis certain que si vous prenez un bus et que vous voyez un monsieur âgé de 90 ans au volant du bus qui doit vous transporter de Douala jusqu'à Yaoundé, alors vous n'allez pas monter dans ce bus-là. Alors comment donc imaginer qu'un monsieur de 90 ans puisse tenir les rênes d'un pays comme le Cameroun? Je sais qu'on va dire que là, je ne pose pas de problème. Certains le disent. C'est leur droit. Donc, le cas de la lutte contre la corruption, nous avons le CONSUPE, nous avons la CONAC, nous avons nous avons le plan l'ANIF, nous avons le plan gouvernemental de lutte contre la corruption. Nous avons plusieurs organismes, mais aucun de ces organismes ne peut rester en justice. Je l'ai toujours dit. Celui qui est en justice, même quand c'est preuve établie, c'est le président de la République. C'est-à-dire quand la CONAC ou le CONSUPE ont un rapport d'un fait avéré de corruption, c'est le président de la République qui ordonne qu'on est en justice. C'est quoi être en justice? C'est porter l'affaire auprès des magistrats. Vous comprenez un peu? C'est de ça qu'il est question. Et nous savons que le président de la République est en même temps chef de la magistrature suprême. Donc aucun procureur ne peut poursuivre un cas sans avoir reçu l'ordre de son chef, qui est le président de la République. C'est ça qui fait entorse. Et comme il est donc fatigué, et qu'il ne peut donc plus suivre les affaires de la République, voilà pourquoi ça traîne. Il faut donc revoir le système, l'organisation et le fonctionnement de ces organismes qui sont la CONAC, le CONSUP et l'ANIF, toute cette panoplie d'organismes qui inondent le Cameroun, qui sont pourtant bien, mais qui souffrent de quelque chose, c'est qu'ils ne peuvent pas être en justice. Donc ça traîne parce qu'on attend les hautes instructions du président.
Oui, quelles hautes instructions le président a demandé que ceux qui ont touché doivent rendre compte. L'année passée, il a dit, cette année, il a encore dit, et puis il y a un ministère de justice qui doit faire son travail.
Non.
Pourquoi ils ne font pas ce travail?
Je vous dis qu'ils doivent rendre gauche et signer un décret pour qu'ils rendent gauche, c'est autre chose. Il a dit...
Est-ce qu'il faut...
oui, malheureusement,
signer un décret?
Bien sûr.
Vous hésitez alors pourquoi?
Non, la CONAC est créée ainsi. C'est le président de la République qui ordonne d'ester en justice. La CONAC prend connaissance des affaires. La CONAC mène ses enquêtes, ainsi que le CONSUPE, mais c'est le président qui demande de poursuivre des gens en justice. Voilà là où le bas blesse. Il faut qu'on le dise aux Camerounais. Que si la
Quel est ce texte? Est-ce qu'il y a un texte?
Oui, la CONAC est claire. Dans le rôle
la CONAC rend compte chaque année, à la fin de l'année, rend compte à la présidence. Oui, mais il y a un ministère de la justice. Vous hésitez alors?
No.
What is the essence of a ministry of justice? Because it is true they would say everything has to go to the president. But why are you existing?
You see, that's where we have a problem in Cameroon, because I think that most ministers are not doing their function. The Ministry of Justice is supposed to operate in that capacity where if, for example, the president made it clear that all those who actually embezzled money concerning any public affair will give accounts. It should become the responsibility of the Ministry of Justice to make sure that that statement becomes a reality. And so it is funny how we are always waiting for high instructions from the presidency. That means that most of the ministers we have in Cameroon are just there to fill a function, but not to actually serve Cameroonians. And that is where there is a serious problem. I just heard my brother Nguepi actually talking about there must be a presidential decree to ordain the functioning of a minister. That is terrible. He had been already given a position to operate in. And so I think that these ministers, if they are not supposed to do their job, we should dissolve the various ministries and establish what can work. Because if everything is going to come from the president, then there's a problem. There is a serious problem. But that also comes back, Mr. Leo, to give us the reality of the situation on the ground, where we are having a presidentialist system, which actually the president has all the power, and he is the one that decides everything. And that is the reason why you don't expect that the Minister of Justice to take any decision without going back to the president. And so we need to look into this situation. If we actually have to,
if we think that the presidency has to give instructions, nous parlons de tous ceux qui ont touché à la fortune publique au cas de corruption, embezzlement. Let's take the
tout niveau, hein?
Let us take the case in Douala. Do you need the president of the republic to come down to Douala to actually ask these guys, these principals, to render account?
Je vous dis, le Cameroun a un problème d'organisation institutionnelle. Parce que nos institutions sont mal organisées. Tout est centralisé sur Yaoundé. Il faut qu'on le comprenne. C'est-à-dire que même pour poursuivre un proviseur, un directeur d'école qui est pris en flagrant délit, il faut que Yaoundé donne l'accord de poursuivre. C'est un problème d'organisation de l'État. L'État a été centralisé sur Yaoundé. C'est Yaoundé qui décide de tout au Cameroun. Et quand on parle de Yaoundé, on voit le président de la République. Personne n'ose prendre ses responsabilités. Voilà le problème.
Chez principal?
Bien, je vous dis que personne n'ose prendre ses responsabilités au Cameroun. Personne ne va pour avoir le courage de poursuivre un directeur d'école. Parce que quoi? La politique se mêle de tout au Cameroun. Parce que le directeur d'école peut être un président de sous-section, peut même être un élu, un conseil municipal. Et quand vous le touchez, c'est le coup de fil que vous allez recevoir. Donc, il faut revoir donc l'organisation structurelle du Cameroun, de nos institutions. C'est facile de dire que le directeur d'école, le proviseur, on les voit en plein commettre des actes de corruption et qu'on ne fasse rien. Parce que tout est mal organisé. Je vous ai dit, la CONAC n'est pas en justice. La CONAC peut suivre les affaires qui sont déjà, peut suivre les affaires. Il y a une commission pour cela. Mais pour que la CONAC poursuive une personne en justice, dont surtout un ministre, il faut que le président public donne son accord. Voilà là où le bas blesse. C'est pareil pour le Consup, c'est pareil pour la Cour des comptes. Parce que quand ils ont beau avoir des rapports, des cas flagrants délit, mais il faudrait que le président public donne son accord. Mais lorsque le président de la République a délégué sa signature au secrétaire général et que lui-même il est impliqué dans les faits de corruption, comment est-ce qu'on peut se mettre soi-même en prison?
Oui, c'est voilà. vous qui le dites qu'il est impliqué, non. Parce que c'est au juge d'établir qu'il
bien sûr, non, mais oui. C'est au juge. Mais nous avons la task force qui a géré la CAN 2019, la task force, et on dit qu'il y a plus de 2000 défenses qui ont été mises en jeu. Et donc, nous sommes conscients que le stade de Dolembe, pour le cas du stade de Dolembe, qui n'est pas arrivé à terme, il y a donc un président de la task force qui a été mis sur pied, qui est le président général de la République, dont sa responsabilité est établie. On n'a pas, les juges viendront voir si effectivement il y a eu des marches, des graves, il y a eu des faits de corruption, mais du fait qu'on ne soit pas allé jusqu'au bout de la chaîne pour livrer ce stade-là, donc le président de la task force avait obligation d'achever les stades, donc il est clair qu'il y a eu un manquement. Donc, de manière naturelle, dans un pays structuré et organisé, le Consup ou la CONAC ou le procureur de la République aurait dû l'interpeller et demander qu'il rende compte. C'est parce que, donc quoi, on dit bien, il faudrait que le président donne l'accord. Voilà pourquoi est-ce que je dis qu'on a un problème d'organisation. Comment est-ce que notre système judiciaire est organisé? Parce qu'au Cameroun, il faut qu'on dise aux Camerounais, nous n'avons pas un pouvoir judiciaire au Cameroun. Nous avons une autorité judiciaire. Donc l'autorité judiciaire est placée sous une personne qui est le président du Conseil d'administration suprême, qui est le chef du pouvoir exécutif, qui est le président de la République. Donc, lorsque nous aurons un pouvoir judiciaire indépendant, comme l'exigent les règles de la démocratie, c'est-à-dire le pouvoir exécutif qui est indépendant, dirigé par le président de la République, assisté par le Premier ministre, le président, le pouvoir législatif, qui est composé de la chambre basse et la chambre haute, qui sont le Sénat et le Parlement, et le Sénat et l'Assemblée nationale, et le pouvoir judiciaire, qui est composé de deux chambres, qui est la Cour suprême et tout ce qui y va avec, et le Conseil constitutionnel. Lorsque ces organismes seront des pouvoirs indépendants, à ce moment-là, on pourra peut-être voir des avocats, des juges, des avocats généraux, des procureurs de la République, qui vont donc commencer à se saisir des affaires. Mais tant qu'il faille que ce soit le président de la République qui donne le droit d'État, ça ne marchera pas. Je dis bien, au Cameroun, on a un problème d'organisation du pouvoir. Tant que tout est centralisé, et il faut que les gens le comprennent très bien, tant que tout est centralisé à Yaoundé, nous allons aboutir au même résultat. Nous aurons les mêmes causes produisant les mêmes effets.
Okay, présente les mêmes effets, but we are talking about the fact that almost everything is centralized at the level of Yaoundé. I wanted us to look at the basic situations in our respective regions, because corruption embezzlement does not only operate at the level of Yaoundé. We have at the level of the regions persons who are actually engaged in corrupt activities. What stops the judicial system at these levels, at the regional levels, to engage judicial procedures? Do they need to be called from Yaoundé to get these guys to render account?
Mr. Leo, you know, I have a serious problem with the organization of our so-called decentralization and its functioning so far. Regarding, there's a situation that just happened in the Southwest region where the standing orders of the assembly, the regional assembly, were actually rejected by the governor. Who's the governor working for? He's working for the central government. And if he has the power to actually refuse, or say reject, the standing orders of an elected assembly, then it means there is a problem with the way the administration is taking place.
Yeah, but what if the assembly did not respect the rules that governs its functioning?
That will means they are actually working against the central government. And if they are working against the central government, then something else will happen.
Yeah, but we are talking about the judiciary here, please.
Yes, Mr. Leo, all these things go along. We are looking at the judiciary. The judiciary can't function in the air, functions in that particular administrative field that has been placed there. We are looking, let's even just go down to teachers. You mentioned something about teachers even in various regions who are supposed to be operating under these regional bodies.
No, I'm talking about cases of embezzlement in Douala, cases of corruption in Bomenda, cases
everywhere.
of corruption in Marwa.
Yes.
You have the regional judicial system that is supposed to take responsibility about this. What stops them from engaging judicial procedures against persons who are not taking good care of resources of the nation?
Mr. Liu,
at the charge. Yes.
Mr. Liu, we come back to say this. The Ministry of Justice per se does not exist without the central administrative power that exists in Yaoundé. And so there is no possibility for them to do anything if they have not received orders. That's the way Cameroon operates.
Senior Barrister, I don't know, is that true that someone who commits mismanages public funds in Douala, in Bomenda, in Bafoussam, cannot be called to render accounts by the regional judicial officials?
Thank you, Mr. Leo. Good evening. Good evening, Prof. Mark, Alex. Good evening, and good evening to your esteemed audience. Well, when it comes to the judiciary and to public prosecution, this is well organized. I want to take some small distance from Professor Makatoni.
Okay.
You see, well, if you read the criminal procedure code, you will see that, as you were asking, the regional prosecution is under the direction of the Procureur General, and prosecution for misappropriation of public funds is graduated. You see, one up to 100,000 francs is called of first instance, up to 500 high court, and above that you are going to special criminal court. Now the problem here is that the type of misappropriation you are talking about is the one that targets people who have embezzled billions. For those ones, their own is under the jurisdiction of the special criminal court, which has a Procureur General, and of course they cannot be prosecuted at the regional level because their matter has to be referred to the special criminal court, which has its own investigative system. They have a specialized judicial police organ which is attached to the court. They have examining magistrates that are in the court, and they have the Procureur General who oversees everything. And above the Procureur General, you have the Minister of Justice, who is also Director of Public Prosecutions. Then you have the President of the Republic, who is also Director of Public Prosecutions. I want to remind you that in military matters, it is the President of the Republic who can say stop, who can order that prosecution be stopped. Now, in case of these people who misappropriate public funds, you take COVID gate, you take CAN gate, most of them have been subject to investigation, either by CONAC or by Superior State Authority for Audit, or Superior State Audit Bench, or the Audit Bench of the Supreme Court. And you see that the reports have to be given to the President of the Republic. All those people report to the President of the Republic. Now, the President will look at it because it is, first of all, administrative. We should get these things straight. When CONAC carries out investigation, it's administrative. They give it to the President of the Republic, who will look at it. If he finds that there is criminal elements inside, he can now say, okay, Special Criminal Court, take care of him. Superior State Control, when they also look at something, they report to their boss, who is the President. And it is the President who has to give it now to the judiciary, to the Special Criminal Court, to proceed. So we cannot say that it is because of the centralization. It is because of the way the thing is organized.
Administrative centralization.
That's not centralization. It's because of the way it is organized. Offenses that bear on billions go to the Special Criminal Bench. And it would interest you to know that cases have been reported. Let me give you a simple case. The one that carried myself and my client to the Special Criminal Court. It was the mayor of Bonaberi. He was reported by a simple citizen. John Kumasi, he was reported by a simple citizen. Judicial Police Bonanjo investigated the matter. They saw that there was something. They sent it to Special Criminal Court, where preliminary investigation were carried out, where preliminary inquiry were carried out. And the man was sent to court. And I went there to defend him. He was discharged and acquitted. You see, so a case like that arises from here. Nothing stops the criminal investigation department from carrying out prosecution. Nothing. But if the case has been handed already to the superior state organs, you don't expect Douala to come when Consup is there. Douala cannot interfere because they don't have the elements. For any person to go to court, you need the elements.
Okay, senior barrister, national president of the Reform Party. I asked them earlier on. Last year, the president of the Republic said persons were going to render account. This year, he has done same. Why is it taking so long? Is it the process of investigation that is not? Okay,
I think we have to explain this one too, because it seems to be taking long, but I don't think it's taking too long, because most of the people involved here are ministers. They are people in authority. And if you have to catch them and send to prison, there will be a vacancy. There will be you create some administrative upset. So it is nice that they finish every investigation. We have all watched several ministers go to the Special Criminal Court. That one is not a secret. We've seen. Even the Prime Minister has been there. Even the Secretary General of Presidency has been there. So we cannot say that there is the thing is slow. No, the investigation have to reach a point where, if they have to be arrested and sent and put under custody, then the president should be ready to replace them with other people. And I think that is what he was referring to by saying that any person who has mingled with public funds will have to render accounts. I say it again, the days ahead may be pregnant for such an event.
Oui, est-ce que c'est aussi le fait, comme vous l'avez dit, premièrement, que notre système judiciaire n'est pas si indépendant? Est-ce qu'il faut, et puis les unités aussi, qui ont pour but de travailler sur ce genre de cas, n'ont pas de plein pouvoir, comme le Conseil. Le Conseil va faire des investigations, mais ne peut pas prendre des actions concrètes. Et puis la CONAC aussi, qui peut-être peut faire certaines investigations, mais non pas le plein pouvoir de prendre des décisions.
Oui, mais je dis bien c'est la limite. Hein. Comme j'ai dit tantôt, c'est que le Cameroun a un problème d'organisation structurelle de l'État. Hein. Tout est centralisé. Notre système judiciaire est mal organisé. Il faut qu'on se le dise. Parce qu'au Cameroun, j'ai dit qu'on n'a pas un pouvoir judiciaire. On a une autorité judiciaire qui est placée qui est chapeautée par le président de la magistrature suprême qui est le président de la République, assisté du ministre de la Justice qui c'est un lieu de vice-président du Conseil de la Magistrature suprême. Et c'est eux qui nomment aux fonctions des magistrats. C'est-à-dire les magistrats de parquet et les magistrats, des autres magistrats qui sont les juges, hein, des parquets qui sont les procureurs de la République. C'est eux qui nomment à ces fonctions-là. Dans un système, parce que si on voudrait mieux organiser le système judiciaire, afin que les organisations contre la corruption puissent être des organisations puissantes et réellement indépendantes, qui sont d'ailleurs même toutes, hein, des organisations publiques, que ce soit la CONAC, que ce soit le CONSUP, que ce soit la NIF, tout ça, ce sont des organisations publiques, et non pas publiques comme ailleurs, ou bien des ONG comme ailleurs, qui peuvent vraiment intervenir. Donc, il faudrait donc revoir l'organisation structurelle de notre système judiciaire. Il ne faudrait plus que le président de la République chapeaute, hein, le Conseil supérieur de la magistrature suprême. Il faut revoir ça. Il faut mettre sur pied des nouvelles organisations. Maintenant, je pense et je continue, je pense et je continue à croire que pour que la CONAC, le Conseil puisse être efficace, il faut qu'ils aient le droit d'être en justice. Tant qu'ils vont faire des rapports et qu'ils vont dresser cela à la présidence publique et que ce président qui va donner l'ordre d'être en justice, ça ne marchera pas. Et dans un système judiciaire, dans un État démocratique, hein, on devrait d'ailleurs, même je ne suis pas très d'accord, c'est-à-dire qu'on devrait peut-être, pour le cas du Cameroun, la haute cour de justice, si la haute cour de justice avait été mise sur pied, peut-être que la CONAC n'aurait même pas eu trop de travail. La haute cour de justice aurait eu à faire son boulot. Mais quand la haute cour de justice n'est pas mise sur pied, hein, c'est-à-dire qu'aujourd'hui, la haute cour de justice qui est censée juger facilement les ministres de la République qui sont en fonction, n'est pas mise sur pied. Puis vous comprenez.
Il y avait des special criminal tribunals.
Non, je vous dis, mais je vous dis, les special tribunal, mais dans la Constitution applique la haute cour de justice. La haute cour de justice est l'organe le plus puissant, en fait, après la Cour suprême. La haute cour de justice est un organe qui, en fait, tel que la Constitution a prévu, c'est que la haute cour de justice peut directement...
Est-ce que c'est ça qui va satisfaire les Camerounais? Parce que avant qu'on ne mette en place le Constitutional Council, le Conseil constitutionnel, tout le monde disait la même chose. Oui. Dès qu'ils seront en place, ils vont faire cela. Non, mais ils sont là.
Le Conseil constitutionnel n'est pas un organe judiciaire pour les affaires criminelles. Hein. C'est bien la Constitution.
Non, je dis par rapport à...
Oui, déjà son rôle, son rôle, c'était pour alléger la Cour suprême, qui savait lever le Conseil constitutionnel.
Mais est-ce que vous êtes satisfait du fait que...
Non, nous ne sommes pas satisfaits parce que le Conseil constitutionnel, pour moi, je dis, ça ne devrait même pas exister. Parce que, comme dans d'autres pays, aux États-Unis, c'est la Cour suprême qui joue ce rôle-là. Pour moi, ça ne devrait pas exister. C'est encore un autre débat entre les constitutionnalistes de voir est-ce que c'est impactant ou pas. C'est un autre débat, c'est une autre théorie. Ça devrait pas exister. Maintenant, je dis ceci, que pour le cas, hein, en tant que démocrate, dans un pays démocratique, on dit en démocratie, l'existence des tribunaux parallèles sont antidémocratiques. C'est-à-dire, on devrait avoir un organe judiciaire, la Cour suprême et les tribunaux qui sont en dessous. Ces tribunaux-là, un juge qui est basé à Douala, à Limbe, à Kumba, à Garaboula, devrait avoir l'autorité nécessaire pour se servir de toute affaire de la République. C'est-à-dire, on n'a pas besoin de créer des organes, des tribunaux spéciaux. Vous comprenez un peu? Les tribunaux spéciaux, en fait, sont généralement créés dans des dictatures et dans le système jacobin. Dans un pays où les choses ne sont pas centralisées, un juge qui est basé à Kulfata, s'il prend une décision, vous comprenez un peu, s'il prend une décision, cette décision s'applique au niveau national. Nous voyons le cas de l'Allemagne, le cas des pays comme les États-Unis. Donc, le problème, c'est que on a créé donc des tribunaux spéciaux qui sont le TCS, la haute cour de justice qu'on va mettre sur pied, qui permettent en fait de réduire le pouvoir de la justice ordinaire que nous connaissons. Et c'est là où dans les organismes comme la CONAC n'ont plus de pouvoir. Parce qu'en réalité, la CONAC doit saisir qui? Le TCS. Vous comprenez? Si le TCS n'existait pas et que la CONAC rendait ses rapports, un juge camerounais pouvait directement se saisir des rapports de la CONAC et connaître l'affaire. Et encore, pour que le juge se saisisse, il faudrait que le juge puisse juger à son âme et conscience et selon la loi. Mais pour ça, il faudrait que le juge puisse juger en toute indépendance. Pour que le juge puisse juger en toute indépendance, il ne faille pas que sa carrière puisse être menacée.
Okay.
Donc, nous avons vu le cas, tout récemment de l'affaire Silingo et avec une autre affaire Dick, où le juge a clairement dit qu'il n'a pas rendu la décision selon la loi et selon sa conscience, mais qu'il a rendu cette décision parce que sa hiérarchie la contraint. Alors que dans un système judiciaire, organisé, indépendant. Le juge est maître de ses décisions et il rend selon la loi. Donc, ça veut dire que si nous voulons donc pour que les organismes comme la CONAC, le CONSUP puissent fonctionner normalement, et tous ces panoplies de nations, il faut revoir l'organisation structurelle de notre système judiciaire, même de notre État. Tant que tout va être centralisé à Yaoundé, tant que le président de la République va agir en demi-dieu, en faisant de roi, ça ne marchera pas.
Yeah, Professor Mark Anthony, irrespective of whatever we are saying on this platform, we have renowned ministers who are in prison today because they were judged and found guilty of misappropriating the funds allocated to them for the good of Cameroonians. Irrespective of the fact that they are still there, we still find persons involved in some of practices that are similar to what these guys did in the past. But how do we understand that our judicial system is not deterrent enough, not scary enough for persons to be doing similar actions to those who are already in prison?
You know, Mr. Leo, when you hear that in the court, in the prison, the Nguepi prison, there is a section where it is, in fact, it is meant for some big guys, VIP section of the Nguepi prison. The question is, what comes into your mind? That's a rhetorical question to answer, not to be answered. You see, it gets to explain something to us, Mr. Leo, that the fact that you are sent to prison does not actually mean you are being punished. So, irrespective of the fact that most of these guys have been sent to the prison through the Operation Sparrow, most of them do not face the burden of the punishment that was supposed to be on them.
Yeah, but
and so those who are outside, do not see any. They say, okay, if that's it, then there's no problem. Let's keep on doing it. But apart from that, Mr. Lee, I will tell you, it is the human nature. Corruption is in a way where when it takes over you, it doesn't care whether you see punishment coming your way. You will still go ahead and do what you had planned to do. So we might not even look at the prison issue, because just even taking away your freedom is enough to make somebody be afraid. But most of these guys don't care, because they are thinking of, they think that stealing to enrich themselves and their children is the path to prosperity. But that is where there is a fault in their section. It means most of them do not even understand what prosperity or wealth is all about. If you think stealing money, like the other guy stole money and burnt it in his house before he was even caught and taken to prison, makes you to understand that most of the guys they are appointed in the name of ministers, do not understand how prosperity runs on, what prosperity runs on. They think it is money. Money is not what makes a prosperous person. It is a state of mind of a person that determines the capacity and determines the output of his life. Once you do not have the right mindset, you do not have the right capacity, you will not produce the right results. Okay. And most of them do not have that capacity to actually be these ministers per se. And so they are the reasons why we keep on going through the same process we are going through. I heard Nguepi made mention of something. He said, as long as the situation remains, we'll have the same effects. Why? Because the same cause, the same effect. Okay. So nobody will be afraid to go to prison as long as they do not have something serious to happen to them. I think if what happens in places like Saudi Arabia, where if you are caught in corruption, you are beheaded, or might be some parts of your body are chopped off, then it will become another thing. People feel, bro, this cannot happen.
God says we should pray for persons to repent, and change.
We are praying for them to repent, but they should stop stealing. Yeah. Now, I'm sure you know about the 10 Commandments. What was the punishment of the 10 Commandments?
It was in the past.
In the
past.
Now.
We are now living.
But that's what makes the laws of Cameroon.
Yeah, but Senior Barrister Ashu
Yes,
Emmanuel, when we have a situation where if you steal billions and you are given a better conditions of living in a prison and you are not tried in any ordinary court but by a special criminal tribunal, how is the law not supposed to be same for everybody?
Oh yes.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Just permit me before I answer your question, because my friend here said something which requires some attention.
Okay.
The Ministry of Justice is not a ministry delegate. It's not a ministry delegate.
Okay.
Yeah. So we cannot say the President of the Republic controls the Minister of Justice, the Ministry of Justice. The Minister of Justice is a full minister. If it's a Minister of State, it doesn't depend on the President of the Republic. So the fact that the President of the Republic is President of the Supreme Council of Magistracy is simply a mechanism of checks and balances. That does not mean that the President of the Republic controls magistracy. So I think we should get that straight. We should get that straight. Now, coming back to your question, does it mean that some people are above the law? I think there was something else that he said about the High Court of Justice. The High Court of Justice is provided for in the Constitution to try ministers and those top-ranking people, the President of the Republic and ministers. But as we all know, we have had a constitutional amendment where it is clearly inscribed that no conduct of the President will be tantamount to any criminal offense that can be tried before a court of law. So we have one big ambit of that court that has been taken away. So again, to the best of my memory, this High Court of Justice is not a dead letter. I remember that the Procureur General of the High Court of Justice was appointed, Amadou Sule. What is lacking is the President and the other officers. But I think he was appointed, I remember that. And at least we have the beginning of something. An official has been appointed with some other people. So, coming back to your question, you see, we have this law on this special criminal court. Many people were questioning the fact that special privileges were given to people who were going to special criminal. But I think you should go there first. We should not assume that these people have special privileges. This court is a court that tries only one offense: misappropriation of public funds. At law, they say specialia generalibus derogant. Special laws take preference on the general ones. If you have this type of court that exists, it is not a court to favor anybody. On the contrary, the people who are sent there, if you ask them, they will tell you that they will prefer to go to hell than to go to TCS. Mr. Kum, let me just give you a simple example. This matter has been trashed, and I think I can mention it. You see, what prevails at the special criminal court is next to witchcraft.
Okay.
I will just take only one offense that was charged against Mr. Ndangle Kumase. That you, Ndangle Kumase, misappropriated the sum of, let me leave the amount, which was paid by check to the treasurer. Can you imagine that? A check is paid to the treasurer of the council, and the mayor is being prosecuted for having misappropriated that check that was paid to the treasurer. You know that he never took the money, but you are prosecuting him for monies that were paid to some other person. Is that not witchcraft? So that is the type of charges these people are facing up there, and you think that is the favor. It's not favor. You have to go the extra mile, come out and show that money that was paid to this treasurer was put inside council account and not taken by treasurer and given to Mr. Dandiko. The charge may look stupid, but it is really not, because it's possible that they give the check to treasurer and he takes it and gives part to Mr. Kumase and gives part to his mayor, and he takes the money and they share together. So you have to prove that the check that he received was actually deposited into the council account are not misappropriated.
What about the conditions of living in prison?
Thank you. That one now. We should not mix things. The prison administration, that is the penitentiary department of the Ministry of Justice. It is an independent thing that has nothing to do with the court that is trying matters. Please, we should not mix these things up.
The still Ministry of Justice.
The management of the prisons belongs to the penitentiary department of the Ministry of Justice. The court has nothing to do. All that the court is concerned with the prisons is that the issue warrant say, produce us this man. Or when they convene, you say, take him and keep there. The court will not give any order to the administrator of prisons to say, do like this or do like that. That one is an administrative organ that depends on his ministry. So I think we should not mix things. If the penitentiary department decides on a particular way of treating people, it is not the concern of the court. We should not mix these things up, please. So I don't think the law has given preference or privileges to some people. If you are talking about that, what about the people? Because that is just one prison. In Cameroon, have many prisons. You have secondary prisons. Let me remind you, Mr. Siam Siwe, he is in prison in Douala. He was convicted for misappropriation of public funds. But he is here in Douala. At the Legion, that's his prison. It's a secondary prison. Why are you not saying that they are giving him privileges? He is in prison, but in Douala, at the Legion.
Okay.
You see, so the management of detainees is a different thing that should not be confused with the dispensation of justice.
Okay, we just have been joined by Mr. Siaka Shuneh, who is a municipal councillor for the CPDM party. We are glad to have you, Mr. Siaka. When the president says repeatedly, first last year, this year again, that those who have touched public funds would have to render account, do you see this happening in the next weeks and months, or we still have to wait like it did last year?
When you say wait, I begin to wonder. Anyway, special greetings to my fellow panelists, Professor Mark Anthony, Senior Barrister Ashu, and Mr. Senior Barrister Ashu, the President of the Reform Party, and Mr. Nguepi. I'm delighted to be amongst you. Sorry for coming late. That question is a very trivial one. I begin to wonder whether we at times we forget the fantastic job that His Excellency Paul Biya has been doing in trying to curb corruption in this country. We know about the Operation Sparrowhawk. We talk about ministers who have been jailed, prime ministers who are in jail, and at the same time we are asking the question, how far is he going? But
no, I'm saying how soon should we be expecting it?
How soon should we be expecting another cream of arrest? That's what you mean. And I think that the judiciary of this country is very independent. We have one of the best laws in this country. I think Senior Barrister Ashu can testify in this panel. And we know that justice is slow but true and sure. The Operation Sparrowhawk has been very effective in bringing to book those who have misappropriated government funds, public funds, and the president all the time comes to reiterate and reassure Cameroonians that public funds cannot be misappropriated and the people will go free. And I want to strongly believe, because I trust in his clairvoyance, he did it yesterday, he has done it today, and he will still do it tomorrow. He will crack down on all those who are misappropriating funds, and surely he will do it and it will come to pass, because there is evidence he has done it in the past, he's still doing it, and there is no way we can think he will not continue doing that.
Yes, but why are they not scared of this arrest? Judging by the way resources are being managed in Cameroon.
Like prostitution, corruption is one of the oldest professions.
Okay.
And it is difficult to curb corruption in Africa. But I think Mr. Biya has shown his stern interest in trying to bring, make Cameroon clear of corruption. When you say they are not scared, I begin to wonder, because who is not afraid of going to jail. The problem is that people always there, and when they're there, they think that they will go on court, but the law is always there to track them at any bending corner. I don't think anybody is who is not scared to be caught and sent to prison. And it brings me to what Professor Mark Anthony was saying when I just stepped in, that people are living in prison and are living a luxurious life in prison, as if when you are sent to prison, you are sent to rot and die. I think Cameroon is a state of law, and we have ratified the law on the protection and prevention of human rights. When somebody commits a crime, he's sent to a correctional center to be corrected, not to die. And I think when those guys are in prison, it is at their discretion, because there is food provided by the state to all those who are in detention. But at the discretion of the detainee, if the family has the means to make the person live well there is no law that prevents them from living appropriately. We still have that traditional stigma in our heads that when somebody goes to prison, they must punish him, they must only prohibiting you of your liberty is the punishment that has been given to you. But living your life there and repenting and coming out as a pure and clean citizen is another prerogative, because the main objective of sending people to prison is so that they should come out more reformed, like the Reform Party. They should come out more reformed citizens than when they were going to prison. Because prisons are rehabilitation centers. Prisons, as a matter of fact, in those days, we used to have productive prisons. Those of us who grew up in West Cameroon, we had productive prisons where people who were sent to jail were trained. Some of them used to come out and go and do work outside to pay for their legal fees. Some even worked and paid for their penalties. So we should not look prison as a place where people have been sent just to rot and die and be sent to their graves. It is a place where people are sent to rehabilitate, to be rehabilitated, reformed, and brought back to the society to serve their nation and to serve in bringing up their nation. So I just want us to clear off this traditional stigma in our heads, thinking that when people go to prison, they can no longer drink champagne. When people go to prison, they can no longer drink pure water. But I want to say that it is unacceptable. Alcohol and drugs are unacceptable in prison. But if it occurs, because we know what prisons are, even right in the United States of America, we know what happens in prisons. And so Cameroon should not be an exception. Okay. So I want to assure and guarantee you that the prison officials are doing their work with respect to human rights and the laws of freedom.
Ok. Alex, maintenant, la loi nous dit que ceux qui passent par le tribunal criminel spécial, si vous êtes jugé et que vous remboursez, vous êtes libre. On a vu le cas de Adama, l'ancien ministre de l'Éducation de base. Il y a eu récemment le ministre de l'eau et de l'énergie qui sûrement a remboursé, a été libéré. Comment est-ce que vous apercevez ce genre de loi où des petits bandits qui volent et qui peuvent rembourser ne font pas sortir, mais ceux qui volent des milliards et qui remboursent peuvent sortir?
Bah oui, avant de répondre à cette question, je vais revenir sur quelque chose, parce qu'il faut qu'on dise aux Camerounais ce qui nous dérange. Hein. Je vais revenir un peu sur l'historique des différents organismes camerounais qui permettent de lutter contre la corruption. Je vais dire la plus grande, l'organisation historique, hein, celui qui a toujours lutté contre la corruption au Cameroun a toujours été le CONSUP, pas la CONAC. Le CONSUP est créé en 1962. Au départ, on appelle ça l'inspection générale. Hein, l'inspection générale du contrôle de l'État. Et c'était dirigé par Christian Tobi Kwo. En 1962, lorsqu'il y a eu réunification du Cameroun, hein, en 1964, c'est devenu la direction du contrôle de l'État. Une direction qui était dans le ministère, dans le ministère des Finances. En 1969, c'est devenu le ministère du contrôle de l'État. C'est devenu un ministère, comme tout autre ministère. C'est donc un ministère qui était chargé de contrôler les finances de l'État en 1969. En 1978, c'est devenu l'inspection générale de l'État. Donc on est encore du ministère encore à l'inspection générale. Il faut comprendre un peu comment le Cameroun fonctionne. On s'embrouille un peu. En 1970, c'est devenu le contrôle de l'État et de la réforme administrative en 1990. Et en 96, c'est devenu le Consupé. Consupé, donc, c'est encore devenu encore une forme de ministère, mais rattaché à la présidence de la République. Or, à la création, c'était encore attaché à la présidence de la République. Donc, on est quitté. Donc, chaque fois, le comme ne fait qu'expérimenter. Et jamais le Consupé a vraiment joué son rôle. Hein? Le Consupé, en fait, c'est quoi? On va dire que c'est un organe de conseil de l'État. Il conseille l'État tout simplement. Donc, j'ai dit les conseils de l'État, hein, sur la corruption. Maintenant, après le Consupé, nous avons la NIF. La NIF, nous avons la NIF, oui, la NIF, la NIF. La NIF a été créée en 2005. Hein. C'est la suite du renseignement financier, c'est-à-dire que c'est l'organe informatique où tout ce qui vous met des activités financières au Cameroun, les banques, les individus, les institutions sont enregistrés à la NIF. C'est créé en 2005. Et le rôle de la NIF, quand on a créé la NIF en 2005, c'est parce que le FMI demandait qu'il fallait lutter contre le blanchiment de l'argent, des capitaux. En 2005, il y a eu une campagne qu'on disait dans les gens avec les capitaux, il fallait lutter. Donc ça, c'est ça le rôle de la NIF en 2005. Donc c'est juste un organe qui permet d'avoir des renseignements et qu'on les parle. Et même ça, c'était un organe pour lutter contre la corruption, ce n'était pas le cas. Après, on a eu l'organe qui a été créé, la CONAC, qui a été créé le 16 mars, le 11 mars ou le 18 mars 2006. La CONAC, Commission nationale de lutte contre la corruption. Mais la CONAC ici joue le rôle de la prévention. C'est-à-dire que la CONAC est venue jouer le rôle de la prévention. C'est pas un organe qu'on a créé qui devait dire que bon, quand on a attrapé quelqu'un qui a volé de l'argent, on le poursuit en justice. Non. Il joue le rôle de la prévention. D'ailleurs même, là où on reconnaît la CONAC, c'est uniquement quand la CONAC, il s'agit par exemple que la CONAC fasse des spots publicitaires. Plusieurs médias diffusent les spots publicitaires la CONAC. Donc, ils font qu'à prévention. Même quand vous lisez leur dernier rapport 2020-22, on dit qu'il y a la plus grande activité de la CONAC, c'est la prévention. Donc, il faut qu'on dise là aux Camerounais, qu'ils comprennent qu'en fait, on n'a même pas un organe de lutte contre la corruption. Et la CONAC est créée en 2006. Le mandat du président, le président qui est actuellement la CONAC là, le président de la CONAC s'appelle, j'ai noté ça, c'est un homme de l'église. Oui, Masega. Il était vice-président de la COBAC à création en 2006. Or, la loi dit que c'est le mandat de 3 ans renouvelable une fois. Tabi, celui qui était là, est parti. Il a fait 3 ans. 2006, 2011, il a fait 4 ans. Il est parti. Maintenant, celui-ci, je ne sais pas si ça s'est décidé ou pas. Apparemment, il était décidé, je ne sais pas trop. Hein, celui qui était là avant lui. Celui-ci a fait depuis 2011. Donc, il devait faire 2011-2014. Et arrêter. Parce qu'il a commencé son mandat en 2006. Donc, il devait faire 6 ans. Il devait arrêter son mandat en 2012. Donc, il faut bien qu'on comprenne. Mais ce monsieur est là jusqu'en 2023. Comment est-ce que la loi est claire? Le décret qui porte création de la CONAC dit mandat renouvelable une fois, 3 ans renouvelable une fois. Alors, celui qui est censé lutter contre la corruption au Cameroun, lui-même est déjà sur le joug de la loi. Il faut qu'on dise aux Camerounais. Parce que je ne sais pas ce que ce monsieur fait encore là à la CONAC. Parce que vous ne pouvez pas venir dire à un directeur, dire qu'il est passé de corruption, être corrompu, c'est qu'on a vu la loi. Lorsque vous-même, vous vivez la loi camerounaise, lorsque vous-même, vous n'avez pas les mains propres. C'est-à-dire que vous êtes un juge, on dit d'être juge, mais un juge aux mains sales. Et souvent, la seule chose que ce monsieur a fait de bien à CONAC, c'est qu'il a mis à disposition en 2020 ce mot au téléphone. Là, il y a des gens qui ont quand même passé mon numéro de téléphone personnel pour m'appeler, mais est-ce que c'est lui qui est à CONAC? Non. Donc il faut qu'on dise déjà comment ces choses sont organisées. Quand on dit que les gens...
Mais chaque année, la CONAC rend ses résolutions ou son rapport à la présidence chaque année.
Je vous dis que
la seule chose qu'il a fait, il y a beaucoup de choses qui ont été révélées grâce à la CONAC.
Je vous dis que la CONAC sera de prévention. Il révèle, mais il ne peut pas rester en justice. Voilà le problème. Ni le Consupé, qui est un ministère, pas comme les gens. Le Consupé est un ministère, c'est le ministère comme tous les ministères, un ministre qui a été le Consupé. C'est un ministère. Non, j'arrive donc. Non, le Consupé est un rôle, c'est le logis pour la public. J'arrive.
Non, vous parlez depuis.
Donc, pour sortir, c'est pas. Donc, pour dire déjà que les organismes qui doivent lutter contre la corruption sont mal structurés. Maintenant, quant à votre question.
Non, vous avez utilisé votre temps à parler d'autres choses.
Bon, ok, je reviendrai plus tard.
D'accord,
je reviendrai plus tard.
Yes, I want us to understand this. He says that Supreme State Audit, CONAC, and a host of others. Why is this confusion? Why do we have so many organs in charge of fighting against corruption, yet very little is seen to be done?
Mr. Leo, I think we have to. Shall I go ahead?
Just go.
Okay,
yes,
Mr. Leo, let us look at it carefully. You see, if you look at the Superior State Audit, it is not an organ to control corruption. It is an internal audit unit of the government. You see, so it is not really per se destined to controlling corruption. It carries out internal audit for the government and for parastatal organizations. So whatever it does must be given to the head of state, who is their boss, because it is a service that is attached to the presidency. Now, when you come to CONAC, that one now is different. I want to disagree a bit with my brother who said that it is only for prevention. No. CONAC does not only prevent. It's not only in charge of prevention. It also reports, because
they do notification.
Then the report. You see, when to the head of state, when they see an offense, they inform the head of state that this place, there is this model has been. I don't think so. Now, my colleague of the CPDM here said corruption is very difficult. Please, that's one of the reasons why we are always begging you people. You think it's above you, leave it. Reform Party has the solution to end corruption. We have the solution. No, truly. You have, for 40 years, I've been telling you all the same thing. Please, your time is up. We have the solution. Allow us.
Nowhere there is still corruption.
Oh yes, but the Reform Party is not nowhere. We is not nowhere. We have the solution. Give us the opportunity to also show the Cameroonians how we can end corruption. You see, if I want to start taking on the topics now, Mr. Leo will tell me that it is not meant. This program is not meant for that. So I'm just telling you that stop fooling people that corruption is something that is a taboo. No, sir. We have the solution. So, Mr. Leo, as we were saying,
so many structures to fight corruption.
We have touched two, and we told you that the only one that seems to be fighting corruption is CONAC, because it investigates and reports to the head of state. Yes, it reports to the head of state. That is, you see, we look at the laws that create CONAC. We should look. Let us look at this thing legally. CONAC is not part of the investigative department of the Ministry of Justice.
Yes, sir.
It is not part of the prosecution. Good. So let us stop thinking that CONAC can prosecute anybody. If the report that they have issued convinces the head of state that there is an offense, he will send it to Minister of Justice. He will give it to Minister of Justice, who will order prosecution. That is it. So the CONAC's role is to investigate and report. And many people are afraid of CONAC because when you are investigated, they know what is going to come out of it. You ask that question. You didn't ask me, but let me just take the advantage. You ask the question, why is it that many people are not afraid of all these things? They keep embezzling. Mr. Leo, if you were to bring Jesus Christ here and ask Jesus Christ to manage 300 billion, don't you think that he'll be tempted? This guy will say, why would CPDM government give one man 300 billion to manage? Cash. I mean, you are the ones tempting people with money. Money should be in the bank, not in people's hands. Not inside drawer. They carry money. Some remove mattresses and replace it with banknotes. No, truly. That is where the trouble is. You carry so much money and give people. I say, even Jesus Christ to come here and to give him that amount of money, he will be tempted. So please, CPDM, again, your time is up. Stop giving people that type of money and stop tempting people with money. You see, if you don't do that, people will not go and be chopping our money for nothing.
Now, we're talking about the judiciary, but most of the budgets for projects are voted by our parliamentarians, our MPs. These projects go through them every year, and they are supposed to be told the level of progression of most of the projects that are being executed. Year in, year out, nothing is happening. Are they not supposed to spearhead these investigations to know how these monies are being spent?
Mr. Leo, you see...
Yes, to call for action to be taken, because if in 7 years a project, take the Olembe project, it's been there forever. Take the case of the double carriage road that is supposed to link Douala and Yaoundé. It's there forever. Take the Bamenda Babaju, it is there forever. These projects are defended at the level of the National Assembly year in, year out, and for 10 years, the same project is being talked about there.
And being sponsored. You see, Mr. Leo, that's why at times I ask the question if truly we have parliamentarians who are working for the citizens of Cameroon. Because it is actually their duty to question these ministers most at times who come presenting the same projects which they present year after year, and budgets are voted for the same projects year after year. And so you start asking the question, these parliamentarians, who are they? Who actually elected them, and what are they functioning for? If we elected them into office, then they should be working for us. Were they appointed? If they are appointed, then they should work for the person who appointed them. But if they were elected by the people, then the people become their boss. So you do not expect that a minister who has been appointed by the president should come and present a project to you and tell you this is the budget we want, and then you just give him, and year after year you bring it. Who is the first corrupt person then? Is it the minister or is it the parliamentarian? In this case, I would say it's the parliamentarian who has given a go-ahead for such a thing to keep on happening. So, I think, and I want to say this without mincing words, that we do not have parliamentarians who are working for the citizens of Cameroon. We have parliamentarians who are working for a particular group of persons. And this is where we have a serious situation. If these guys were working for Cameroonians, every law that is made will be made in favor of the people, not against the people. You come with a project. We are talking about a budget was voted, I think, for 12 good years concerning a road, a highway road that is supposed to actually link Yaoundé to Douala. That project has been coming yearly, and I think budget has been voted yearly, but the road has not gone anywhere so far. A stadium which was supposed to have been completed by 2018 is still uncompleted in 2023 until the construction company who was in charge of it has abandoned it because there is no payment of invoices. Question: did they still vote a budget for it? Yes. Why should they do that when the projects have not been completed at the time it was supposed to be completed? Who is this particular who is this parliamentarian who is not questioning the ministers who are bringing this project? Are these parliamentarians working for us? Those are some of the things that make me feel as if we are, I don't know how I should name the republic.
Yes.
We are not in a republic where we actually want to see the advancement of the nation. Irrespective of the fact that we might want to defend evil, it is wrong for projects to keep coming every year without being completed, and then we still keep on voting budget for it. It is wrong. Those concerned should stand up and hit the table. So that's why I was saying, Mr. Leo,
but if a project's lifespan or execution lifespan is supposed to last for 10 years, but at least there should be an updating of what is happening.
That is
in the case. Let's take Olembe case, COVID Gate, and the others. What stops our MPs? Because we are talking about people who have to appear at the level of the Special Criminal Tribunal. What stops our MPs at their level to open up investigations also?
Okay.
So that responsibilities are established, because everybody says it is the President of the Republic who has to order. The MPs, why don't they also open up investigations?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, I want to go straight to the point.
Okay.
In politics, winners never quit, and quitters never win. So stay put as a CPDM to continue to educate and edify Cameroonians on professionalism, on how things function. I want to speak now like a certified professional project manager, not as a politician again. When a project is initiated, there's a life cycle of the project. And then, in the project, like in the case of Cameroon, there are what we call unforeseen contingencies. Okay. Take for instance, we are in the era now whereby climate change has brought a lot of geographical problems in this country. We have less than 8 months of the dry season, and most of the period is the rainy season, where indoor work can be done during the rainy season, and outdoor work will be done during the dry season. In a situation whereby you find an unforeseen contingency along a project, you have to redefine the project life cycle. When you redefine the project life cycle, it will extend the life cycle of that project, and it will extend the cost of the project. Just take, for instance, the Douala-Yaoundé highway. I'm not saying the Douala-Yaoundé highway, but I said just take, for instance, the Douala-Yaoundé highway. Feasibility studies were done, and then they knew that they would take 28 months to construct the Douala-Yaoundé highway. And along the line, they have an unforeseen contingency, because it goes with the laws of our land. They have an unforeseen contingency. But this project, the minister had submitted this project to the parliament, and the parliament had validated 20 billion. Now, because of that unforeseen contingency, they have to come in with an avenant. When an avenant comes in, an extra cost of 2 billion because of a contingency, they still have to take it to the parliament for the parliament to validate the avenant. And considering the fact that maybe the budgetary session for the parliament holds only in January, and we are in July, it means that for that avenant to be validated, you have to wait till the budgetary session of January for that avenant to be validated and approved before the work can continue. This is project management.
Yes.
So, oh my God, until you edify yourself how project management functions, and because it becomes now a conflict between the company and the rules of the nation.
But Mr. Siaka, yes, what you're saying actually applies for
private parastatals.
For projects.
For projects.
Now, if this happens for one project, we understand. Almost all the projects don't respect that line.
Bear with me that budgetary sessions, like in the councils, like in parliament, are held at the end of the year.
Okay.
And when an avenant comes in July, you cannot go to a finance. You cannot.
Yeah, but so every year.
It means that we have to regulate the functioning of the legislature.
Mr. Siaka,
because the legislature votes the laws. We have to reform. We have to redefine the functioning of the legislature
every year.
Oh my God. It's simple and clear. And then you don't have to, I would not sit here and accept Professor Mark Anthony, sit here and present our honorable parliamentarians as people who are stupid, or people who don't know what they are doing, as if they are criminals. They are going by the law. They are going by the book. They are respecting the regulations of the land.
They are respecting. Yes. They are respecting the law. Yes. Vous voulez dire quelque chose, mais vous faites. Bref. C'est toi. Oui, allez-y.
Oui. Bon, je vais dire que si vous me permettez d'abord, avant même de vous reprendre, je reviens sur l'action précédente, sur les TCS. Pourquoi est-ce que les gens qui volent, quand on rembourse, on ne vole plus? C'est une incongruité, je passe au contrôle de l'avocat qui est là, c'est une incongruité. Ça veut donc dire qu'au Cameroun, on vous demande que si quelqu'un vole 100 000 francs, il va en prison, mais si vous volez 50 millions, 100 millions, vous ne partez pas en prison. Donc, tant que vous volez, si on vous a vu voler, vous remboursez, vous n'irez pas en prison. Mais si vous volez, on ne vous voit pas, vous gardez cela pour vous. Donc en fait, cette loi-là du TCS, c'est pour encourager les gens de continuer à voler. Voilà qu'on soit clair. Parce que quand on dit que les gens sont égaux devant la loi, si une personne vole 1000 francs et peut aller en prison, pourquoi donc dire à celui qui a volé 1 milliard que s'il ne rembourse pas en prison? Et celui qui vole 1000 francs, même s'il rembourse, il s'en va en prison. Donc du coup, les citoyens ne sont pas égaux. C'est pour ça que je dis, les tribunaux spéciaux, tels qu'ils sont créés, ils ne sont pas créés en faveur des populations. Ils sont créés parce qu'on veut donner certaines garanties à certaines personnes bien particulières. Et maintenant, je reviens aussi sur ce que Maître a dit. J'ai dit, la CONAC, tout à l'heure, j'ai dit que la CONAC joue le rôle de prévention. C'est vrai que Maître, il met des investigations et il acte ça, il donne ça au président de la République. Mais seulement c'est le président de la République qui décide en dernier ressort de poursuivre ce dont la CONAC a eu accusé. Vous comprenez? Donc du coup, il n'y a pas un organe de lutte contre la corruption au Cameroun. Parce que s'il y avait un organe de lutte contre la corruption au Cameroun, cet organe doit avoir le pouvoir, quand ils ont mené des investigations, de saisir la justice et que ces gens puissent être poursuivis. Mais dans le cas de la CONAC, tant que la CONAC a mené des investigations, c'est au président de la République qui revient en dernier ressort de jouer de l'opportunité des poursuites, ce qui est mauvais. C'est pour ça qu'il dit il n'y a pas d'organe de lutte contre la corruption. Quand nous serons en mesure d'avoir un organe de lutte contre la corruption, nous allons lui donner à cet organe-là le pouvoir d'ester, de poursuivre de poursuivre en justice les organismes et les personnes qui sont impliquées. Et maintenant, hormis cela, donc, je vais donc revenir sur quelque chose, c'est que je ne suis pas d'accord avec vous, honorable conseiller, je ne suis pas d'accord avec vous, de faire croire que les projets ne sont pas parce qu'il y a des avénements, tout ça. Non, je ne suis pas d'accord. Alors, je suis d'accord avec ce que le professeur Marc-Anthony a dit, c'est qu'il ne faudrait pas qu'on fasse quoi? Nos parlementaires ne nous servent pas. Ne nous servent pas, ils sont nommés.
C'est ton avis?
Ils sont nommés parce que d'abord, ceux qui sont parlementaires obéissent à ce qu'on appelle généralement la discipline du parti. Donc, si le parti n'a pas dit que vous votez pour ou contre...
Ils sont nommés?
Non, ils sont nommés. Nommé voudrait dire quoi? Le parti décide qu'il sera parlementaire. Parce que le système d'évolution, le système... Non, ils sont élus, mais je dis nommé pourquoi? Au Cameroun... Non, les partis politiques font l'investiture de nomination. Il n'y a pas les primaires, non. Au Cameroun, il n'y a pas... Au Cameroun, permettez-moi s'il vous plaît. Au Cameroun, n'est-ce pas, il n'y a pas les primaires dans les partis politiques. Pour choisir qui sera à tête d'un parlementaire. Ce sont les tracasseries et que le parti décide d'un homme qui sera son candidat. Je dois comprendre pourquoi je dis nommé. Parce que sur le parti, sur le plan du parti...
Revenons.
Investi, je dis investi ici, sans primer, c'est nommé. Maintenant, ils sont nommés. Maintenant, venez dire que, parce qu'il y aura des ajouts, je vais vous donc dire que la loi camerounaise est claire et nette. Lorsqu'il y a des avenants, comme on lui a dit, l'Assemblée nationale